Hi everyone, so I'm Renee Davis. My affiliation to M&C Saatchi Saturday School is that my organisation Out the Box does their community management. So we'll do things like getting amazing people like you guys into the space, just boosting the pipeline of young creatives who are eager to learn and scale their businesses, and even just to come up with something amazing to solve problems in their communities. And then I'm also a journalist, as well as communications manager. So I just kind of work a lot in the media space. So I'm really looking forward to interviewing Moray and Ibrahim today about running creative business. And we have three main questions, and I want to kind of frame the chat around those questions, and then kind of just have like just a casual chat about what it really takes to do this, because I think a lot of us are used to seeing, you know, the glitz and the glamour of it all, and we really don't know like the grit that goes into it and the hustle that goes on behind the scenes. So I'm just looking forward to just some honest, transparent talks today, and also looking forward to the questions that come out of this and the discussions that we have later on. So I'll let Moray and Ibrahim introduce themselves, who they are, what they do, and then we can go straight into the questions. So Moray, would you like to introduce yourself to everyone?
Yeah, I'm Moray MacLennan. I'm the worldwide CEO of M&C Saatchi, and I'm the old guy on the call. But I started in advertising. I've got a remarkably boring CV, actually. I joined Saatchi & Saatchi in the early 80s, mid 80s. I then left Saatchi & Saatchi in 95 to help start. I became managing director there, actually. That's the one in Charlotte Street, to the guy I was talking earlier. We left there and started up M&C Saatchi, independent company, 25 years ago, and we're still here just about.
Thank you, Ibrahim.
Yeah, hey everyone. My name's Ibrahim Kamara, and I'm co-founder and CEO of a youth media platform called GWOP. Some of you may know it as the world's first video magazine, and that's what we started with. But now we've grown into a youth media brand that's dedicated to discovering, showcasing, but also nurturing emerging diverse creatives. And we do that through our magazine, our website. We own a couple creative studios, and we have an agency strand where we work with brands who want to reach young and underrepresented audiences.
Amazing, amazing. So it's like two very different spaces, but they're still obviously within the creative industries. And I'm sure a lot of people here either work in the creative industries or wanting to start something within that space. And it's not, again, like I said earlier, it's not easy. So what did you tell yourself to commit to the long haul of running a creative business? Ibrahim, I'll start with you.
I think for me, there was no plan B. That was my motivation. I think when I came out of university, I worked at Tesco for like 4 to 5 months. And then I kind of just left with not like much savings or anything. I just said, I'm gonna risk it all for this. So that kind of was the motivator. I didn't have another option to go back to. It was either make this work or make it work kind of thing. So yeah, that was my driver.
Moray, and I'll put that question to you.
You know, it's probably the same for many of us, actually, unless you're one of these people who has that vocation that I want to do this thing. I've wanted to do it since I was 5. But similar in some ways to Ibrahim, you know, I came out of college and I thought I'd go and train and be a lawyer. And then I found out you didn't get paid to do that. You had to pay. And I didn't want to do that. So I thought I didn't have any particular skills. You know what it's like sometimes if you go into the creative industries, as I did, you know, I wasn't a talented musician or artist or writer. And I thought, what can I do? What can I do that I think I will enjoy to make money? You know, and I was very clear, as we probably all are, at the age of 18, I was very clear I was going to be having to earn a living for the rest of my life. And here I am, still on Saturday, doing that. And on Sunday, I will be in again tomorrow. And you know what it's like. It was. I only read the other day, it was Alex Ferguson. I didn't need Alex Ferguson to tell me this, but nevertheless, it's always good to quote these people. And you know, he said, if you work hard every day of your life, you will be successful. I'm not saying it's right to work hard every day of your life, or you should work hard every day of your life, but he's probably right. If you work really hard, you probably will be successful. And that was really it for me. It wasn't so much about the creative industries. I suppose Saatchi and Saatchi at the time was glamorous and hitting the headlines, and I was joining this extraordinary company that was always being talked about. And I didn't really commit to it for the rest of my life. Strange, really, because I have been here for the whole of my life, pretty much in the Saatchi thing as it happens. As it's progressed, and obviously when you start out, as I tell my kids now, you know, you don't start at the top, you start at the bottom. You start off doing the photocopying, emptying the bins. That's the way it works. But you know, as I've worked my way through, I think now what I like about, and it's not quite running my own business, but because it's a public company, but we have a lot of freedom. I like the freedom and control of doing my thing. And you know, when I deal with entrepreneurs, because that's really our business, is we don't buy businesses. We do occasionally. We start up businesses with talent. So it's almost like a talent spotting agency. And then we back those people. And so I think I know what some creative people want, and that is freedom. You know, they want the freedom and control of their own lives. More, actually, do you know what? More than money, I think, as a motivation. And so that's become really important to me now. I don't think I could go back. I don't think I could go back to doing now everyone's got a client and a boss ultimately, okay? So no one has complete freedom and control. But I couldn't go back just to being a cog in a big company, not having that freedom. I think I've gone off piste on your question actually, but
you haven't. But you've kind of given me an opening to kind of ask another question, which I think will apply definitely to both of you. So you mentioned something about what you do now is that you start businesses, you look for talent and you look for people. What are the key things that you look for people that are wanting to start creative businesses? Like, what is that ingredient that they carry?
A good and difficult question to answer for me anyway. And I have got it wrong at least as many times as I've got it right, because it's not good enough to be in most of the sectors that we're in. Let's say take advertising in New York. You want to start an agency in New York. There are 3,000 advertising agencies in just in Manhattan. That's before you get into Brooklyn. So it's not enough to be good. You've got to get something exceptional, and finding that gem and finding that good person, they're really difficult to unearth, because one thing I've learned is good people die in a bad culture. And you can have a real star, but they're just working somewhere which isn't right for them. Yeah. And the opposite is also true. So that's really difficult. I think you sometimes it's a personal bond that you meet them and you just find them compelling and trustworthy. But trust and and then there's the raw talent as well. Are they just really good at what they do? But it's not, I don't think there's a magic formula, and commitment. You need 100% commitment, because you know, everyone we started a business with, if you start a business, you think it's going to be fantastic. Otherwise, why are you going to start it? You know, you're not going to start and think, oh, it might be quite good. You're going to think it's going to be fantastic, and you think you're going to succeed quickly, and you won't. That's my learning. You won't, okay? You won't succeed quickly. There will be some exceptions on this call, and you can give me exceptions to prove that rule. But every single business we've started that is successful or very successful, it's taken longer than the people thought. Because they think we're going to go straight in there, we're going to kill it, we're going to be the best. And yeah, they have become the best, some of them, but it's taken them 5 years, not 1 year. And their business plans were all making money in year one. I never listened to their business plan. I always discount 2 years when I put figures into the PLC, because they're natural born optimists, the people who want to start the business, and they're going to get knocked back, and it will take longer. I mean, some have even said, even the most successful ones, if I knew it was going to be this hard, I'd never have done it. They don't mean it. They don't mean that. All they're really saying is, you've really got to expect to be knocked down. We had a quick chat earlier, and there's that famous Mandela quote about, don't judge me by my success, judge me by my failures and how many times I got up off the floor. And you will be hit. I mean, we've been hit as a company 2 or 3 times, I guess, hard, because we're high profile, we're high influence. And when you do well, people they just do. They do love seeing you get knocked down and knocked off your pedestal. And it will happen. I'll tell you what, no one on this call is not going to be, your career is not going to just be a straight line of success. You know that. It's going to go bad from time to time. It is going to go badly wrong. We lost our biggest account at one point. Everyone was going, oh, that'll teach them. And you knew that was going to define you. Right now, and we'll be in the press probably tomorrow, but right now, we've had a lot of hits recently. Well, there's 1 or 2 things you can do. You can either curl up into a ball, or you lean into it and you hit back hard, and it makes you really determined. And if you don't have that resilience at the beginning, and someone doesn't have that resilience, they will give up and fail at some point.
Yeah, thank you. And I like the fact that you said that you leaned in, because you can either curl up and just think, forget it, I give up, I'm going to let it go, or you lean in and you learn and you grab lessons and gems from the failures. And Ibrahim, I know you speak a lot on the beginning stages and how for you failure was not an option, and you're very transparent on social media just about how hard the beginning was. Can you kind of speak on how you've leaned into some of the difficult times that you may have faced, because you're still in the early stages of what you guys have done amazingly well, so it'd be good to hear.
I think the main way we've leaned in is just our perspective on things. I think even when we were having hard times, we always saw the hard times as part of a longer vision. So my short term for things was always 5 years, and my long term is like 10 years plus. So when we would have like a bad year, it's like, what's the proportion of 1 year in a 5-year journey? It's the same way I've seen like with the same thing I've seen with let's say Corona and this like period was 3 months in a 5-year journey. Do you get what I'm saying? So we've always had a very strong perspective on the time frame that this stuff is going to happen in, and understanding that there's going to be ups and downs during that time. And as long as you can get through those downs, you'll be able to like reap the benefits of the ups. So yeah, I think that's how we managed to like lean in properly. Because yeah, like there was a time where I was making I was working in my dad's shop. My dad has like an internet cafe, so in Peckham, and for like the first 2 years after I left my job at Tesco, I was working from there with my business partner. My dad was giving me like £20 a week at max, and that's what I was surviving on for like a long period of time until we got our first client, which was Nike, which came at some random time. But if we weren't seeing the long-term vision during the time where we was making basically like £20 a week and weren't fighting through that, we probably wouldn't have got to the stage where we're attracting those type of clients. So yeah, I think the long-term vision and believing in yourself through those hard times is like really important.
And also, just to pick up on that, something you said on the Nike thing, the great thing is you can be on the floor and you can have lost 10 pitches in a row, and then one comes through, and that moment, so they can just change. It can change so quickly, and then suddenly 100%. You won, and then suddenly you've got momentum, and then you've got another one, and then it all happens. And it's one of the great. I mean, all creative businesses are slightly different, but in our business, it's one of the great things, that hope that it can change incredibly quickly.
There's like one tipping point that I think everyone in their journey has a tipping point where it just starts making sense, where before that tipping point is like you think things aren't making sense, but you never know who's watching you during that time where you think it doesn't make sense. And then once you hit that tipping point, and then everything that you've done over the last period of time just comes together and it just creates like a snowball effect. So I think it's that whole thing of like just going through the hard parts and understanding that it might take longer than you expected it, but it will happen when it's right.
And I think there's something to be said there about not kind of beating yourself up, because I think we kind of take things personally and we think it's me, it's my fault, I didn't do this, I should have done that. And then when that one thing does come through, you realize, okay, it was just timing. So I have another kind of question about like the work itself. Like, how do you guys kind of sell creative work before it's been made? So how do you might be pitching and you're like, we haven't even done most of the work yet, but this is the idea that we have. How do you make sure that that kind of gets through?
I think ours is a bit different because we're a publisher first, not an agency. Our way of selling is literally us doing what we do every day and brands seeing what we do and wanting to get involved and basically aligning their business strategies with what we do and asking how we can integrate. So we've never actually ever pitched for any of the brands that we've worked with. We've never pitched. It's always been inbound, but that's literally always been just because of the work we put out. So our strategy is literally just putting out great work all the time, putting out excellent work and basically making it the most authentic and making it the most true to us and involving the community that we're trying to serve. That's like our foundation. And that foundation has brought in the clients and brought in brands wanting to work with us. So that's how we've done it.
How does your planning process usually kind of work in terms of like creating the work?
Yeah, so when we get hit with a brief, what we usually do, now we've got a team. It's like we get a brief, we discuss the brief as a team. We have a small team, there's like 6 of us. So we talk about the brief, basically pitch it back to the client. The client says which idea they like, and then we think about outside people in our community who we can bring in on the project, like freelancers and different creatives who we can bring onto the project to make it much more impactful. And then, we just do it. So a lot of the time it's literally just brainstorming an idea, seeing if the client likes it. If they like it, we make it happen. As simple as,
Moray, how about you?
I certainly, the big truth in what Ibrahim said is so important, is that judge me by my work. You can see what I do, and that's what you're buying, is my talent. So I completely agree with that. In our business, some people say, a great idea will sell itself, and I think that's not true. It may be true if you're really lucky and you've got the right client, but often it's not true. I was lucky, and this isn't false modesty, I was genuinely lucky early on in my career to work with people who were very good when I was very young, and they gave me a break, and I got the credit for their work to some extent. The first one, because when you were a kid, so you do the small stuff, and you do the charity work because they didn't pay you anything, and that was great because you'd get to deal with the best work. We did a thing for the Samaritans. This guy wrote it, and you can probably get it on YouTube and look at it now. It's old, we're talking decades old, but nevertheless, it's Pink Floyd. Is there anybody out there? You may or may not know the track, but and it's just a screen with a guy's face behind it of a rubber ski, and he's pushing through it, screaming. With the track, is there anybody out there? And it says, yes, the Samaritans. It won gold this, gold the other, best commercial, and it stands the test of time. And that, do you know what that one? It sold itself. But more often than not, I think it's what's people buy the person, don't they? I mean, and we all do that. And if you trust the person, you have that personal relationship, then you buy it. There's very little you can say. We always aimed when we started M&C Saatchi, we thought our thinking would be so tight and so good and better than anyone else's, and more compelling, so that at the end of when we stop speaking, the only answer can be the work that we're about to show you. And getting that thinking really, really tight up front, and so that they would buy you and your thinking, because usually that's the most important. Often you don't have time to build up the trust. Once you have trust, it's so much easier, isn't it? And as I said, people really buy the person. There's very, when I show a client some work, it's not a dangerous game, but I mean, it's a less good game to be able to just, what can you say just before that's going to make any difference to whether they like it or not? You know, because you can't, you show them the work and they say, I hate it. No, you don't. Yes, I do. No, you don't. Well, I'm beginning to hate you now as well. So, you know, there's very little you can say at the last minute that is going to change how someone reacts to something, I think. So I think the hard work is always done before, through relationships, the quality of your work, or the quality of your thinking, and so that it's relentless and more. I mean, nowadays people would say it's slightly changed game now, because of course, in an era of programmatic buying, testing, content creation and distribution, it is a slightly different iterative game that you can play, and one does play, but there's still the judgment involved, of course.
So what would you kind of say was like a big moment for you guys where you just thought, wow, like as much as this thing has been really hard for us? I know, Ibrahim, you spoke about Nike. Have there been any other moments where you've realized, okay, this is just how this work is, and this is what it takes to really make it happen?
To be honest, I don't even feel that yet. If I'm honest, I feel like we still got bare to do. That's just my plain answer. I feel like we've done some good stuff in that, but I don't feel like, I still feel like we got foundations to lay. Yeah, so I don't have a direct answer for that yet. Especially
in the early days when you left Saatchi & Saatchi to start M&C Saatchi. Well,
yeah, that was a moment. I suppose I had two. I had one really low moment. I was running our most prestigious account, I suppose, the British Airways account, and it went really wrong. I mean, it really, really went wrong. We made the worst commercial ever. It almost broke the agency, and I was responsible for all of that. And I think coming through that, not being fired, and being able to rebuild from there was a sort of critical moment, because it really was, it was hideous. It was, well, you know, we all have those times in our life where we had the director throwing bins at the client. We had him called, I mean, stuff you just wouldn't believe. So a lot of it caught on film as well.
Wow.
It was when the director called the client a fucking fascist on film. That was not a great moment. And that was then it all went downhill from there. And to come through that and decide, and we all have those times where you think, actually, I don't want to do this anymore. I think I want to do something else. But coming through that was a do or die moment. And then I suppose starting M&C Saatchi, when I had a good career going at Saatchi & Saatchi, I had security, I had safety. I had a big company behind me, I suppose. And you know, I remember getting got a call from Moray Saatchi. He said, so you're going to come and join us in this thing we're starting? And I said, well, I really don't know. You know, I've got a job here, and I owe these people more than I owe you because they work for me. And I'm going to stand up tonight and tell them that we're going to be fine, and you're the enemy. And if I do that, as soon as I do that, then I'm staying. So I don't know really. And he said, I completely understand that, which is where when we finish this conversation, you need to put down the phone, walk out of your office, and never go back. And he put down the phone.
Wow.
And so that was one of them when you think, and I sort of got up out of my chair and I walked across the thing, and my PA said, where are you going? And I said, I'm going out. She said, are you gonna, it was a bit like Captain Oates in the Antarctic. He said, you know, you're going to be long. And I said, she said, I'm going to be a really long time. And I walked out and didn't go back. That was a sort of real door down. I still don't quite know why I did that. It was just a I just walked out, and it wasn't really thinking. And I guess, again, all of us make irrational judgments sometimes. You just do something and then cross your fingers and hope for the best. Maybe it was some sort of instinct. I do remember turning up to his door 20 minutes later in London, knocked on the door, and I said, "Oh, okay then, I'm here." I said, "What about all that business that we have?" And he said, I wasn't completely honest with you. In what respect? We don't have any business. So there I was, I'd walked out of my job, biggest agency in the UK, to start a company with absolutely nothing. So that was a moment, and in some ways it's quite out of character. I don't think I'm a particularly brave or entrepreneurial businessman, but I've learned some of those things.
Wow, that's crazy to me anyway. What's one thing that the both of you wish you knew before entering this industry and this business? What's one thing that you thought, nobody told me this, why didn't anybody tell me?
I wish I knew I was going to do well. Actually, I don't wish I knew I was going to do well, because the fear thing keeps you going, doesn't it? I think I'd say something around, I think in my job often you manage clients, and I think you can be more honest more often. So just tell people what you really think and what you really think is right, rather than trying to manage that in some way. And I think I've learned that over the time, is actually just say what you think is the truth. I mean, it's easier when you're more senior in a company, but it's more difficult when you're less secure. Yeah, probably something around there.
Cool.
I think if it was me, I'd probably say chase the value earlier rather than money, because I think when we first started, we were chasing the financial aspect of this stuff, and we thought we was going to be like millionaires like straight away. So, but I think the minute we made that switch of like chasing value and making sure that we're bringing like value to the world, that's like when a lot of things started changing for us. So yeah, I would say, yeah, chase the value before the money.
And also talent as well. The other thing that I've learned here rather than before was take your time over hiring, because when you're one person, your next hiring is do or die. If it's right, you'll do really, if you have 5 great people, you'll do really well. If you have 4 quite good people, you probably won't. And taking the time to get that right. And we put in a lot of effort. We always used to have a subs bench, we would call it, of 11 people who we would want to hire when we had the money to do it. And it's a lot of time and effort, isn't it? It's every night, every evening, every morning, you're having to see someone, but it pays off. And we stopped doing that after a while, and you pay for that, I think.
Cool, thank you. Question. I feel like we're just in such a different time now, and the world has changed. The world is continuing to change quicker than we think. What is the future of creative business? Where do you see this all going?
I'll say this from obviously, like I said, we're relatively new in this kind of space. But all in all, I think all businesses are somewhat creative. You've got to solve some sort of problem. That's the way you provide value in it. So I think the world's going to be changing the same way it's been changing. It's probably just happening at a faster rate. And as businesses, we've just got to learn to adapt with the times. And if you don't adapt, you might fall to losing in these times. But if you're easily adaptable and lean, you should be able to get through these tough times. And yeah, I think this is no different to years. Like every decade, there will be some challenge at some point in your journey, kind of thing. So I think it's just weathering the storm. So I don't think it's going to change in any way. It's just, yeah, it's happening, and you just got to take it, innit? That's how I perceive it.
Yeah, I mean, we're in a very specific place right now, and it's an annoying cliche to say it's an opportunity. I find it a bit insulting almost, and insensitive to say that. But we've had 2 big problems really in the last 12 months. The first was we had some accounting misstatements which were very publicly covered. We then had a boardroom bust up, which was very publicly covered. There was then more bad news, which was very publicly covered. that was all just that was the 6 months pre-COVID. Then COVID hit. So those two, which has completely changed our business. You know, we have a big sports and entertainment arm. There's no sports and entertainment, as we all know. So that's gone to zero. And that's a reasonably big piece of our business. So there's been a lot of challenges, and our business has changed dramatically, together with consumers and customers changing how we do business. Yeah. Perhaps there's two major strands I've seen externally. Speed is just off the scale now, and it's not going to change. Clients aren't going to turn around and say, could you can go back to doing everything a bit slower again. I think speed is with us for good, and that's going to really affect business. Being able to react, and agility, I suppose, is really important. And the other thing is internally is, and some of this is to do with social injustice, Black Lives Matter, all of that side of things. I think also people sitting at home and considering the world and their life and society and what's important and what they want to do. Do they really want to turn up to an office every day, commuting for 3 hours? So I think that whole what's your, I know it's well-trodden ground, but in terms of what's your purpose, you know, are you a purposeful company? And are your values the right values, and the values that I want to be associated with in my life? So I think that, and I know it sounds quite prosaic to say speed, but I think speed and agility is a major thing coming out of this. And so we are taking this moment for both of those reasons to fundamentally look at our business and ask all those difficult questions about ourselves. And writing, you know, I can say this because we've put it on the record already. You know, we are going to write a future strategy. We're in the process of doing that, which is, you've got to see it as an opportunity to do something new and different and better and change things, which does bring its problems, and you will need to break some eggs, and it'll create some difficulties, but it is also a liberating process to go through, to think, okay, we have to, and we can relook at every aspect of our business, given what's going on in our past and in society, and re-engineer, restructure, refocus, look at a 5-year plan. And I think it's been a good thing, and I'm not just saying that. I think it's been a good thing for us.
So I have a question about money. I'm sure a lot of people are going to be like, yeah, she asked the money question. How do you make sure that you're not, I think it's two separate, because I know Saatchi will be a bit different, but Ibrahim, like, how do you make sure that you're not underselling your work and who you guys are and what you do? And when that's not being served at the table, when do you know to walk away?
Yeah, I think, again, just transparency. I think it's all like learning experience kind of thing. When we first started, even when we got that first Nike project, we didn't get how much we were meant to get, but obviously we got to say we've worked with them kind of thing. And I think the more you show value, the more your worth goes up kind of thing. So for us, the conversations used to be, this is how much we have, take or leave it kind of thing. And then as we got bigger, the conversations changed to, what's the budget? And then when we started being asked what's the budget, we first started with like just going higher than the last project. Because we like basically done this from the ground up, we knew how to do a lot with little. So when we was taking money in, we would just be like, oh yeah, let's just do more than what we charged last time. But now we're at a stage where we have access to other people who work within this industry, and we kind of know what the market rates for certain things are. So yeah, we're able to basically align ourselves with those market rates for certain projects, and then yeah, just go along with that. But yeah, we had to go through. We've gone from people telling us there was no budget to working with us, but they would want us to work with them, to being asked what's the budget and us pricing our stuff. So yeah, I'd say it's just a learning curve and going through the ball game. And yeah, if you have people within the industry that know this stuff, don't feel afraid to like ask and stuff. So yeah, that's how we've done it.
Moray.
Well, look, margins are difficult in our business, and this is well trodden territory, this, but it's so heavily procured now. Anything that we do, any major contract, everyone is going to end up in the same sort of place. For any established client, it gets more difficult with newer clients, of course, and with newer agencies. And some people will just buy the business. And look, we've done it before. Sometimes you make that commercial decision that the prestige of an account is worth losing money on. But that's almost, I would say, unheard of in our business now, in our company now. And we make those hard calls. We really do. If we're going to take something on, which we could probably afford to, and lose some money to do the work, we won't unless the price is right. And even if it's a social good or a charity, my advice is always, don't ask us to do it for free. Really don't, because you lose control. And you need to be in control. You need to tell us what you think and what you want done. And it's difficult to do that if someone's doing you a favor. But on the whole, there's the holy grail in our business is to try and get paid for the value that you create rather than the hours that you work for. And, good luck with that. We haven't discovered how to do that.
Thank you both. So I have a question about just work-life balance, because I think I'm big on taking care of yourself, and I know I can be so much better at it. But how do you both run agencies? How do you take care of yourself in and among that?
Well, it's not my strong suit, I don't think. I was brought up by quite a tough. My father left school at 16 in Inverness and joined the army, and he believed in, as a private soldier, and he believed in hard work. So I always had that drummed into me as a kid in a very military sort of way, and he did quite well, so I got the privilege and benefit of that. And so no, I'm not particularly good at work-life balance. I don't have a hard and fast line between you must separate work and this is my family life and the two will never meet. I don't really operate like that. And I always remember listening to athletes when they say, I can't remember which one it was actually. It was an athlete coming up to the Olympics saying, if I don't train on Christmas Day, my closest competitor will. So they'll win and I'll lose. And that's not a particularly healthy philosophy and outlook perhaps in life, but I definitely do have that. Someone called it an illness once. They said, you have an illness, you think there's a correlation between hard work and how well you do, and there isn't. And so I don't know the right answer. I know that people demand it and want it and need it, and it's probably good, but I'm probably not the best person to answer the question.
Thank you for the transparency.
Yeah, I'm definitely not the right person to answer that either.
Oh God, guys.
Obviously, like I said, the last time I've had like a job where I felt like I was going to a job and then having to like balance my life was when I was at Tesco. Ever since then, this is just what I've got to do in it, kind of thing. So it's just like, it's integrated into my life. But I don't see it as a bad thing. I don't feel like the need to switch off or anything. It's like, I think everything has a cause and effect relationship. Like if you work hard, I think you'll see the results. And if you're doing something and you're seeing the results of it and it's good results, why would you stop? I don't feel like I need to take a break or thingy because I'm kind of in control of my life. So if I do feel a bit like taken back, I can take a couple hours out or something, but I don't feel like I need to have like work like this is my life in it. So yeah, I just live it.